curious, what inspired you to co-found Primo, and what leadership lessons have you carried over?
Yeah, so what inspired me was really jumping on the opportunity train, I would say. It's my father called me when I was
What do you think were the biggest challenges you faced in launching and scaling the dispensary in such a obviously highly regulated and
New Jersey made it very hard to navigate in terms of local power. So local municipalities that would say yes or no to.
what common traits or habits do you see in early stage founders who succeed?
Yeah, they're so ambitious, I would say, and so excited about, for me, especially with Primo, we especially hired people that were affected by the war on drugs and things like that. So people come from underrepresented communities that might not. Diversity is your strength, and I would say a lot of these.
But you've spoken at United Nations on MSME Day. What were your key takeaways from that experience, and how should policymakers better support small business ecosystems globally?
Yeah, I think a lot. So what I specifically talked about at MSME Day, which is Micro, Small, Medium-Sized Enterprise Day, every June 27th, and losing and always, not being defeated by failure. I think a lot of it also was I was falling on my face, trying to figure it out. And
Welcome to another episode of Board's Eye Leadership Talks. I'm your host, Martin Ravinsky, CEO of Board's Eye, where we connect with influential leaders who are shaping the future of business across industries. Today, we're joined by a remarkable guest, Skye Blanks. Skye is the Chief Operating Officer at the International Council for Small Business, a co-founder of New Jersey's premier independent dispensary, Primo Cannabis Company, and principal consultant at Herman Todd Consulting Group. From advising startups at Yale to speaking at the United Nations on global entrepreneurship, Skye is at the intersection of innovation, policy, and leadership. His journey spans international advocacy, small business development, strategic consulting, and building in highly regulated markets. Skye, that was a mouthful, but welcome to the show.
thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited. You're quite the busy young man.
Yes, I have my hat in a lot of different arenas.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you're leading in both the international small business space and cannabis industry. Quite the mixture. How do you balance the strategic priorities of ICSB with the hands-on demands of running a Primo Cannabis?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with having an amazing team. I had the opportunity to really get a foundation in business first with ICSB. I was doing my MBA at George Washington University. Was working with ICSB on a lot of different projects, looking at what makes businesses successful around the world. There's so many different challenges, and learning those lessons and talking to those business owners, talking to the researchers, allowed me to take those skill sets and apply it to Primo. And so it kind of is a happy marriage. I learn from experts around the world and take those lessons and apply it to retail dispensary in New Jersey. Share that knowledge with my team, and it's really great being that flexible and being to be able to see the bigger picture on everything.
Sure. Curious, what inspired you to co-found Primo, and what leadership lessons have you carried over? You touched a little bit on it, but what did you carry over from global business into state-regulated entrepreneurial venture?
Yeah. So what inspired me was really jumping on the opportunity train, I would say. It's my father called me when I was doing my MBA and was like, hey, there's this great opportunity in our town that we had previously had established a business in, where we have a good relationship with the community. Can you help me with this? Can you help me apply the knowledge from the International Business Council and apply it to the local domestic arena, where you're dealing with politics and investments, and how do you navigate all those different things? And coming from DC, you have to be a politician in the cannabis industry as well. So I kind of took those skills and applied it there, and it really was just me building on a lot of the opportunities of talking with ambassadors, negotiating with different business leaders, from the ICSB network, and saying, hey, I have the confidence to take the lessons I learned from these incredible people and apply it to this nascent industry that I could be a pioneer in with my family. And yeah, it's really building on that.
What do you think were the biggest challenges you faced in launching and scaling the dispensary in such a obviously highly regulated, and I don't know how competitive is out there, but it's pretty competitive out in the West Coast. So
Yeah, no, the East Coast is definitely getting very competitive. New Jersey made it very hard to navigate in terms of local power. So local municipalities that would say yes or no to a dispensary opening up in their town, and you really had to be ahead of the game, ahead of everyone else to get in front of the line to make your case as saying why I should open a dispensary, why do I have the skill set, why do I have the team. So it's kind of like a pitch competition, and
yeah.
you're really thinking about what makes my proposal the best, what makes it different from others, and advocating for yourself across these different municipalities, because the state level it's all the same. The application is even, it's even playing field. You can get your annual license, but it's hard to know the knowledge of how to navigate the talents. And so a lot of it was going to council meetings, talking to the community, having people come and speak on your behalf. So being the politician was the really hard part, but also the financing. A lot of us in this industry, you can't get financing because of banking regulation, because it's still seen as a scheduled controlled substance on a federal scale. The banks are allowed to give loans or investments into this space. So a lot of it comes from private investors or personal funds. And so it's just really going through the process of navigating the political side of it, and then try to stay afloat, because you got to have the building, under a lease. You got to have your investment into building the construction while you're still not even sure if I'm going to get this license. And so we're navigating both, kind of gambling on, hey, we're confident we have the best case. We are confident we have the best, company. So let's put our money behind it. And then we got the resolution and it was great. We're like, okay, now we have something that is going to happen. And it's going back and forth with the state, going through all those processes, things that people don't teach you about because it's new. And so it challenging, but exciting. That's why, it gets me excited out of bed every day, is to say, hey, what's the next challenge? What can we do to kind of find a creative way to address it?
yeah, I mean every business has its challenges, and obviously that one a lot of compliance challenges.
hmm
So would you say that was the biggest challenge, compliance?
Yeah, compliance for sure. We made sure to get people that were knowledgeable about those things behind us. So hiring the best lawyers to go through all the regulations for us. Going to Colorado, which is a pre-existing market where we had management that we can bring and lean on to work for us in New Jersey. And so having some great leaders who done this in other states and come together in New Jersey to help advise us and build up, what's the right thing to do? What's the best plan? What's the best system to dispense cannabis with our point of sale? Is it reporting to the state correctly? Is it reliable? So many different things. I'm the young guy on a team, so everyone's like, you're the tech guy, figure it out. Also, figure out the financing, figure out this. I'm like, okay, let's get creative. And yeah, compliance is definitely sometimes a headache, because there's so many steps to take, background checks, putting money down to get a background check, putting money down to get the badge application. So are we going to pay for the employees to do that? And a lot of different questions and things you wouldn't think about in a normal retail business. And you're really need to talk and see people who are seasoned in this to be successful.
Yeah, so advisors are definitely handy.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about Herman Todd Consulting Group. How would you describe your approach to strategic consulting across such a diverse sectors?
Yeah, so with HTCG, we really have the blueprint that I found strategies that work across different sectors. So actually, with my research for ICSB and with some certifications I've taken, looked at different companies and say, what are the key concepts or strategies that make them successful. And so with HCCG, we take those strategies from precision market dominance, where you are, showing that you're differentiating yourself in any industry. So be HVAC or cannabis, how do you change the way you do things that people say, hey, you're the best at what you do? And finding a lot of things that business owners, especially small business owners who might not have went straight to, don't have MBA, don't have an undergrad degree, kind of learned on the job and create their own business. A lot of trade workers, and say, hey, these are things that you know your trade really well, but how can you know business really well? And so what we do is put that together and say, hey, we have a blueprint for you. We coach you on those strategies, and it can, guarantee that you'll find success. And this is all proven stuff that I learned through my experiences, and just being in these different arenas, like I said before, has given me great insight, because I don't just have domestic insight, I have global insight. And it's kind of exciting to be able to share that and help elevate businesses to the next level with Herman Todd Consulting Group.
That's awesome. And through your mentorship at Yale's, I hope I'm saying this right, Sci Center,
Yeah, Size City.
what common traits or habits do you see in early stage founders who succeed?
Yeah, they're so ambitious, I would say, and so excited about what they're making. A lot of what I always say to a lot of the mentees is, look at you might have a great idea and really excited about the concept, but you want to know what the needs are of the customer. So it comes around with design thinking and trying to get the data around your potential clients so that they um, know that the proof of concept will actually be applicable to them. And so I would say they're ambitious. They're very much driven to learn more. So they're going to resources, they're going to boot camps, they're pitching, they're practicing, they're asking lots of great questions. There was a student, we had the Startup Yale competition last week, and it was really great to see a lot of the undergraduate students who have interesting ideas that you just don't think about because of their specific background. So a lot of them are, international students who come together and meet students from the United States and students from other countries, and then they're like, well, there's this common issue. How can we bring it together and apply, financing for gay women in finance, or looking at someone was talking about uh, the Japanese stock market and how can we translate that for investors, or applying AI for set design. And I'm like, wow, these are all things I would never have thought about, but they're asking questions, seeing what their needs are, and talking to their community and finding those problems that they can address. And it gets me excited working with the younger generation, even though I'm young. They're a little bit younger than me, that I can help them, think a little bit bigger picture.
That's awesome. You've emphasized on creating opportunities for underrepresented entrepreneurs. What does inclusive leadership look like in practice for you specifically?
Yeah, for me, especially with Primo, uh, we especially hired people that were affected by the war on drugs and things like that. So people come from underrepresented communities that might not have opportunities to work in a traditional field. They're actually encouraged to go into management, to learn how to be a leader and apply it in the right way. As far as my background with uh, like Yale and other competitions, is looking at diversity is your strength. And I would say a lot of these businesses that I see really successful are business owners that either came from a different place or have a really unique way of thinking about a solution, because they are exposed to such um, they're challenged to think about something outside of the traditional way. So if someone that maybe came to school for the United States, where they grew up might have been, that culture might have been different. They might have had um, a different motivation to come than a traditional student. Okay, so how are the concepts you're learning going to be applied to be a successful leader in a company that you might want to work for, or a company that you want to start? And it really comes down to having diverse teams, diverse leaders, and diverse mentors. Because if I find someone that looks like me or has a similar background to me, I'm motivated to know that I can succeed in that field. So that's something that motivates me, because when I was coming up in undergrad, there wasn't many entrepreneurs that I ran into that had such a similar story to me, or background. So I want to be that person to say, hey, look, Skye's done a lot. He's come from a diverse background. I can do that too. And seeing that support is important for entrepreneurs, because it's lonely out there as a business owner sometimes.
Long hours. I
Yes.
get it. Yeah, and I'm an immigrant, by the way, so I totally understand when you say we think different, or people that come from a different culture think different, and all the things that we go through when we do come to this country and have to adjust and learn the new culture, and takes a lot of grit to get through it. So
Yeah.
definitely,
Resilience. I would say the
yeah,
resilience mindset.
resilience is yeah, there's no better builder than that. That's for sure. Um, but you've spoken at United Nations on MSME Day. What were your key takeaways from that experience, and how should policymakers better support small business ecosystems globally?
Yeah, I think a lot. So what I specifically talked about at MSME Day, which is Micro, Small, Medium-Sized Enterprise Day, every June 27th, is about youth entrepreneurship, and how young people, a lot of times, they're up and coming, but they don't have the experience, and so they're overlooked in their ideas. And I think policymakers need to listen to the young people, because a lot of it's, looking to the wisdom, and these are the people you talk to a lot, is the, established CEOs, and who are really have great knowledge, but there's, again, diversity of thinking. We need to talk about the young people, about what's the technology or the applications that people might not think about, and how can we apply them to, better serve their communities. So a lot of what the UN does, especially with MSME Day, the messaging is, how do we use entrepreneurship to address, stable development goals? How can we help, developing countries, um, jumpstart their ecosystems and their entrepreneurship, um, hubs, so that people, can have opportunities to really be successful. And I always say it starts with the youth. Having the young people go to New York, go to Dubai, go to London, or anywhere where they're different from where they are, so that they can learn, so they can learn lessons, see opportunities, and then bring that back to where they're from. And so that's kind of what I was hinting at. And it was really a super, um, I guess, humbling experience too, talking in front of everyone, being able to share knowledge around people that really are decision makers in their countries. It was really super surreal, I think is the right word. And, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. You went from self funding your education to launching multiple ventures. What were the key turning points that shaped your path as a leader?
Yeah, I think it all started really with my dad telling me, "Hey, use your brain rather than your body." I think a lot of times young guys think about, doing sports, and getting scholarships through sports and things like that. And for me, it was, "Hey, you're also smart. You can use your brain, think about ideas creatively." So I went to George Washington, was getting involved, talking to everyone, trying to figure out, where can I fit in, where can I find my passion. And it really started with connecting with a professor that really opened up to me about his background. He was an immigrant. He came to GW. He's an alum as well. And kind of had a similar journey of, like we said, grit. Having no one in the country, and then growing and becoming a professor at the university he studied at first, and working for the World Bank, and having his own business, and doing things before he became a professor. It's like, wow, that's really someone I want in my, um, that to mentor me and to be, a
Yeah,
role model for me.
in your circle.
hmm
Yeah.
And so, talking to him really jump started my interest in business and policy, and learning about where the intersections go. And, from that was this hunger to always find the next thing that I can, like, improve on, or next company or idea to execute on. And it just led me, one step going to the new venture competition at George Washington University with, some ideas with a team, then losing and always, not being defeated by failure. I think a lot of it also was I was falling on my face, trying to figure it out, and trying to prove every time I would lose. I think a lot of times we come in and we talk about, our successes, but we can't talk about success without failure. And that was a lesson that I had to learn, kind of the hard way, of not being discouraged by, hard times or bad grades. I didn't do well on a test, and okay, how can I improve this? How can I, apply this and learn this as a lesson for my future? And so a lot of it was, okay, well, I didn't win. I didn't get that internship. I didn't get that um, opportunity I wanted. Well, what's the next one? And just be resilient, keep going forward. And so those were like some key takeaways that really got me excited on the momentum of being an entrepreneur, starting my new ventures, and then being able to have success, because I failed so many times, there's probability that I have to be successful at some point.
Yeah, I always say every failure is a step to success. Just got to keep moving.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of times people fall down, don't want to get back up. But if you fall down and your floor, really say the floor, people say break the glass ceiling, but I like to raise my floor, because if I fell down, my floor isn't that low anymore, because I have the connections, I have the opportunities, I have the education. So now I can just get back up and keep climbing up the stairs to, the next opportunity.
Can you think of any 5-second moment in your life, in your young life, where if somebody said, what was like the turning point or the 5-second moment that you can talk about for hours, but it was like it's burnt into your memory? You have any of those yet?
Yeah, I think,
It can be personal. It doesn't have to be business.
yeah,
Anything that you have to work through.
yeah, I really think so. Like, what comes to mind is really the pandemic. My dad had owned a gym, a fitness gym, and trained athletes and things like that. And during the pandemic, we had to close down, and school stopped. I had to come back and, get thrown into the family life again. And I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? We're in crisis. There's no income coming from this gym. What can I do? And I was like, in that point in my like academic career was, I'm looking at international affairs, looking at the policy stuff. But I'm like, I need to really be an entrepreneur. I really need to be able to adapt, because, the government said we can't do anything right now, but we need to we need to have some resources to keep this, to be able to feed ourselves. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And so really having a hard conversation with my dad, trying to create some solutions, and said, okay, I'm going to commit to being an entrepreneur. I'm going to commit to solving problems so we want to feel this way. Other people don't feel this way, because it took a pandemic for me to feel that way, but some people feel like that all the time, and just because of circumstances. And, really at that point, I was um, just kind of at a wall, and I'm like, who can I reach out to? Can I ask for? And so it was just reading, going on, reading books, talking to mentors, seeing what I can do to keep my business, like my family business, alive. And we were like, okay, we'll do it virtually. We'll actually, I got onto the T of Gary Vee, a podcast session he was doing during the pandemic, and I talked to him, and he was like, hey, you guys should do things virtually. And so I really tackled that, and was like, how can I turn everything virtually? And that was like a theme of me being the tech guy. It was like, can we do conferences virtually for ICSB? Can we do a gym virtually and bring that into something that's successful? And it really turned my thinking of, hey, I should just do a project and work on things people tell me to do, and actually look at bigger picture, creative solutions. I'm going to make my own destiny, and do what I got to do to keep this business alive. And I think that's probably what the biggest turning point was for me.
Awesome. And here you are now, multi-revenue streams and
Yes.
roles. What advice would you give to leaders navigating multi-business leadership? There you go.
I really would say the advice I would give to multi leadership in different companies and organizations is really having a strong sense of um, scheduling freedom, right? Having your calendar scheduled efficiently. So what I like to do is say I set certain blocks. From this time, I'm working with ICSB. From that time to that time, I'm working with Primo. These times, I'm doing interviews for books. That I do with Hermitage Consulting Group to work on the second edition of my book. I'm going to do some assessments here, or going to do that. So really booking your calendar effectively, and then obviously making amendments for travel and things like that. But just having a routine, having that sense of regularity is something that really helps me balance all the hats I wear. Not checking your email all the time, because sometimes we think about uh, something comes in the inbox, we have to respond to it right away. No, leave it for later. Leave it for your designated time, because you have to prioritize the other things you have on your plate. And so a lot of it is really scheduling freedom, having the discipline to really be committed to it and be passionate about it. Because if I didn't have passion for all the things I'm doing, then I wouldn't do it. And so make sure that you ask yourself, hey, I'm going to take on this role as a board member, or as a, what they call a virtual CFO for his company. Uh, Let me make sure I really care about the mission, really care about the values of that company or that organization. Because then I'm going to wake up excited to do it in my block. I'm going to end up giving 110% for it. And so that would be my advice.
Awesome. Thank you. And for our listeners, what's the best way for anybody looking to connect with you to find you? LinkedIn, or what's your best go to?
I would say LinkedIn would be the best avenue. Send me a message. It's my name, Skye Blanks, and say, hey, especially if you're a business owner and you're a unique industry, I would love to interview you for the second edition of my book I was mentioning. It's called Fundamentals of Fortune, and that's where I really outline those strategies I was talking about earlier, that I want to see case studies and see that they had work in your industry. But yeah, LinkedIn would be the best.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Skye, your journey is a masterclass in modern leadership, and entrepreneurial, global, and grounded in impact. Whether it's launching in complex markets or advocating for small business on the world stage, your insights offer real value to current and future leaders alike. To our listeners, if you're building across sectors, exploring regulated industries, or looking to become a more inclusive and strategic leader, make sure to follow Skye Blanks and connect with the organizations he's driving forward, from ICSB to Primo Cannabis to Hermitage Group. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Board's Eye Leadership Talks. And if today's conversation sparked new ideas, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. Until next time, keep leading with vision and purpose. Thank you, Skye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Your support means a lot to us.